As you can see, we're full of shit. Good morning. It's early morning here in Bogota, and I had a long flight yesterday, so I decided to sleep over here in Bogota. I'm on my way to my farm, Finca El Suelo, where I'll be spending the next 2 weeks. My personal driver, he always picks me up in Colombia. Julian, hola.
Hola.
So now I just landed in Neiva. It's pretty hot here. It's probably close to 30 degrees. But we're going to drive to the farm, which takes about 2.5 hours. I always have to stop at this place when I go to the farm, and also when I visit Elias, because they have these probably the best pan de yucas in Colombia.
Lovely.
Rico. So I finally arrived at Finca Tamana, where I'll be staying for the next 2 weeks. This is actually Elias's farm, but as I don't have a house on my farm, I have to spend my time here in his house. So the reason why I'm back at my farm already in January, I was here in December, and I made some compost piles, but it wasn't enough high nitrogen material in the piles, so they didn't really decompose properly. And since we need a lot of compost for our coffee plants to grow and to fix the soil, I just needed to come back and recompost the failed piles and make sure we have enough nutrients or organisms actually for our soil in the coming year. So you can clearly see that this material here kind of still, you can see the wood chips, they're not decomposed properly. It smells pretty good. It smells kind of like soil, but not really. So we just need to recompost this in order to make it really work well in our farm. This will take probably 2 weeks, hopefully. I'm here for 2 weeks, so we have bought some chicken manure, and we collected a lot of cow dung, cow shit, to put in the piles. So hopefully we'll get the temperature up enough this time in order for the piles to decompose. And then hopefully in 2 weeks they'll be finished. So I'm standing here with my friend Diego, the Colombian Barista Champion. As you can see, we're full of shit because we are in the middle of the process of making some compost. So in the bucket down here, we collected shit yesterday, or I collected shit yesterday. Diego came today after all the dirty work. So cow dung, and then behind me, behind there's a lot of grass. So we're using grass cuttings, and then we're using some failed compost piles that is behind me. Because we had too much wood in them last time, they didn't really decompose that well, so we're using that. And then the results are that green big pile over there. Hopefully that will heat up in 2 days. Then we can turn it, and then it'll heat up again maybe 3 or 4 times, and hopefully we will be able to be finished with it in 9 days. In order to get it up fast, we also are using now some chicken poop with the beddings. So I hope that will be okay. Anything to add, Diego? You like the dirty work?
That's been a very cheap day.
Shitty day. Yeah, and it's definitely pouring down all the time. Right now it's not raining, but it's been raining here a lot. So the whole ground is just mud, and we're getting wet, and the clothes never dry, and so it's very, very humid. But kind of like it. So hopefully we'll do some updates when we turn the compost. So this is the porch at Finca Tamana. This is Elias. Hello, Elias.
Hello.
Hola. So I'm normally staying on his farm when I work on my farm, which is next door. It's on top of the hill. You can see behind me here. This is where my farm is, on top of that hill. Behind there is Finca El Suelo. So I'm standing at one of the hills on the farm, Finca El Suelo, and behind me you can see where we are actually cleared the land and planted coffee. We've also planted shade trees. We're going to plant some clover on the ground to get some cover crop. But at the moment we just cut a lot of weeds and the coffee trees are not doing so well, so it kind of looks a little rubbish at the moment. But we'll get there, and that's the main reason why I'm here, to make a lot of compost so we can get the health of the soil back into this farm, so that the microorganisms can feed the plants that are planted there. And the reason why I have to do this myself is because Elias, that is my neighbor who I bought the land from, he is not trained in organic farming or anything like that. He's using mineral fertilizer and pesticides and so on, which we are not. So I took a biology class some years ago, or last year. Not that that makes me an expert, but at least I learned some principles behind working with microorganisms and how they can work for us to feed our coffee plants. So looking around, this is also part of our farm. It's a little forest down here. There's a little stream or river. Down here we're going to plant some a variety garden under the shade of the forest. Yeah, so this is kind of a 360-degree tour of our farm. And where Diego is standing, we're gonna build a wet mill eventually, because there's a hill behind him, so we can use the gravity. And on the flat plateau over there, we are going to build a house. So I'm getting help from Diego. He's helping me making a lot of compost so we can spread on the soil, which is not actually food for the plants, but we are kind of farming microorganisms in the compost, and they will start to live in the soil once we put it on the soil, and they will feed the plants, and they will kind of mine the minerals from the sand, silt and clay and organic material in the soil, and make it plant available in the nutrient cycling thing. So hopefully in 1 or 2 years the farm will look much better, much greener, and produce coffee. The time will show. I have to prove this first. So the reason why I'm at Finca El Suelo with Diego, well, Diego always joins me on these trips because he helps me translate, he helps me make compost, he helps me with everything. So I'm very grateful for him to be here. Diego is the Barista Champion of Colombia, who will compete in the World Championship in November. But the reason why I'm back on the farm so sudden, I was here in December and we made a lot of compost, but the compost was too moist and didn't really decompose that well. So I had to come back and redo it. And you obviously see why, because this is one of our typical trees and it's clearly lacking nutrients. So we have to make a lot of compost to put on the ground, and we're also making compost tea that we're going to spray on the leaves to protect them from leaf rust. And we're also injecting compost tea into the soil in order to get more organisms in the soil. So hopefully that will work and get our plants to grow a little bit better and be a little bit greener. It's been raining a lot during the last week, even in my room. So it's kind of wet here, but today is a beautiful day. So we're gonna spend the day. We have some workers already putting on compost on the ground, and we are going to spend the day cleaning the farm from plastic and all this kind of stuff. So today's yet another beautiful day. It's been raining a little bit this morning, but we're ready to work a little bit today. Today we're actually planting terebol, or clover, as a cover crop on the farm, because clover can fix nitrogen. But we have mixed the seeds because they're tiny seeds, and if we just started planting the pure seeds, that we would run out in 5 minutes. So we actually mixed the seed with parchment from coffee, and we have sprayed it with some compost tea to make sure they're inoculated with good organisms, and now we're going to spray it all over the farm to try to get a cover crop, so we don't get a lot of weeds growing around the coffee trees and so on. And hopefully the clover will keep the moisture in the soil. It'll fix nitrogen with the rhizobium and help the coffee plants grow a little bit. So let's see how this goes. Sorry for my ugly beard, but I haven't been able to shave since I came here, so really looking forward to getting home and get a nice shave. So this is my new room at Finca Tamana. Elias just finished this house where he has his own room and also some room for the workers, and they built a guest room which I'm currently using and will be using in the future. It's got its own shower, toilets and 2 beds. which is perfect. I don't need anything more than that. The only problem is there's no roof on top, so when it's raining, you see I have a little bucket on the floor there. The water is coming down through the ceiling, so but that will be fixed next week when they're building a dryer on top of the house. So they're gonna dry coffee on top of the house. So yeah, this is it. This is where I spend my nights. I normally go to bed very early, like 7 o'clock, and then wake up very early, like 6 o'clock every morning to get started at the work we need to do at the farm. It's close to the end of my trip, and the compost piles needs to be turned. Once we compost all the material that we have collected, the temperature goes up. This is thermal compost. And the reason why the temperature goes up is because all the bacteria and fungi and microorganisms that are starting to decompose the material are reproducing. And they need a lot of oxygen, and of course more organisms create more heat. So let's have a little look at this pile, because this is ready to be turned. And you can just see the steam coming out of it. This was turned yesterday, and now it's reading 66 degrees Celsius, and that means we really need to turn this pile now, otherwise it might go anaerobic, and we don't want that. We want aerobic organisms for our compost and for our soil. So you can even smell some whiffs of ammonia coming out. It's definitely time to turn this pile. So hopefully this will be the second last or the last time I turn it before I go home, so that this can just rest, decompose and mature, and then in March we'll put it out in the field. Good exercise. This is how you prepare to become a World Barista Champion. You turn shit for a living. No, the piles are very hot today, so we have to turn them to aerate them so they don't go anaerobic, and also to mix up the material so they decomposes better. And we're checking the moisture and the temperature on these compost piles. If they're too moist, they won't really heat up, which was the case in the beginning of this of last week. But then we just added some more dry material, and the piles started to heat up really quickly. So we turned them actually yesterday, and we have to turn them today as well. Hopefully tomorrow will be the last day we turn them, because I'm going home on Saturday and today is Thursday. So otherwise I'll have to ask Diego to stay to to turn them by himself, but hopefully not. How does it smell like? Tobacco room, like a cigar room where they store cigars. It smells a little bit like this.